In the first step, to do the AJAX and communicate with the server, we need to have the server opened. So we'll create the object. The object is here a new XML HTTP request object. Now this object is used to create the connection between the web server without the need for you to reload the entire page. Now this object here is used to exchange data behind the scenes of a web browser. So with the server, it is able to exchange the data. Now before we start, this object has several methods and several properties. For example, you are having this method. Now this here refers to the object I've created previously for the XML HTTP request. Now this here is a method. Now this method is going to be specifying the request. So we specify the request firstly. So how do you specify the request? You use this method. Now this method here, if you visualize what is meant by an object in JavaScript. Now here we have created this XML HTTP request object. Visualize that this is here a method that has a function inside it. This function will specify the request. So you firstly tell it, okay, so are we going to be using get or post? So you specify that we are using get, and then you tell it that from the web server we are going to be entering and extracting information from text.txt file. Alright, now we specified the request. How do you send the request? Sending the request would be with another method of this object. So as you saw, this here is used to exchange data with the web browser, with the web server. And so here, with this method of this object, you are able to send data, to send this request that you have previously specified. You send it to the server using the get, and this is used for get requests. Alright, now here, what do they have then? What is missing here? What's missing here is a callback function, onload. Now onload here is a callback function that will define a function call when the request is received. So here we specify the request. Here we will be sending the request and receiving the request. So what is going to be executed when we receive the request? So what is going to be executed? We are now going to be defining. So by default, you have all of them empty. So these are here going to be user defined. So response time is by default empty. Response time is just the key, and it's empty. And when does it get filled? And so the response time is going to be as soon as you as soon as you receive the data from the txt file, it is going to become the value of this and becomes a string. But then here, when we receive the data from the txt file, by default this is here empty as well. This is going to be filled, but then the data here is in XML, not text, strings. So this will define the function that will be called when the data is received. When the data is received, by default it will be stored in this value here, in this property, in this property. That is by default, it will be stored. And so now, how do we define the function? How do we define the function when we receive the data? So you'd say, so you'd name the object you have created, it and here, an onload. So as an onload is equal to function. Now here we are giving it the function. And notice here that is an anonymous function, it is not named. What are we going to be doing? Alright, so I will be replacing we're going to be putting this text file into this inner HTML. So here it is document, so it's document.get the element, get the element by the ID. By the ID you get the element, that is demo ID here. And so that is element.get element by ID demo. And then what do we say? Dot inner HTML. Now how do you refer to the data in this text file? You'd say equal to this. What do you mean by this? There is a rule that states, there is several rules for the this keyword. If the this keyword was mentioned in an event handler, this will refer to an HTML element. If this was mentioned in the global scope here, if I say if this let x equal to this, well here we'll define the global scope. And because we are in the browser, the global scope object is the object of window. So because we are inside an object method, this is here an object method, this will refer to the name of the object. So this is the name of the object, this, and then this is the name of the object, and then we're going to be accessing the value of response text. I've told you before, when we receive the data, it's going to be stored in the response text. So that response text, and this is going to be the data. But then the order here is incorrect. Why? Think about it logically. The order is incorrect because when you load the function, so here you receive. So when we receive, we're instantly going to be executing the method of onload. But the method onload is here empty. So this is here an incorrect sequence. So we can put it here before sending the request. As long as the onload is defined before sending the request, then you are on the safe side. But then if the onload method is specified after the send, Then the send will go to onload, open the key, check the value is empty, no methods are there, and hence we need to always have the, preferably before specifying the request and before sending the request, and so that's what will happen now. And so if we run this, so that is, here we have the object created and then the function, all right, response text. If we run this and save and then check, that is what's the data, so that is if we run it and then go back to the server, and as you can see here, Alex is on a live server, that's what's available on the text file. But then now if I change the value of the text server, if I say, alright, so is using Java, so Alex is using Java, so you see that it has instantly, we are constantly, so the XML HTTP request is constantly communicating with the web browser.